Atheism's deficiencies exposed. Atheism persistently attempts to sidestep its fundamental inability to provide grounding for objective morality, purpose, consciousness, and the existence of the universe. The excuses provided, atheism doesn't have to account for it, are not intellectual defenses. They are admissions of inadequacy. This is not a dismissal of the argument, but a public confession that atheism is structurally, philosophically, and existentially bankrupt. 1. Atheism and the escape from accountability. The claim, atheism doesn't have to account for objective morality or purpose, is a retreat, not a rebuttal. If atheism does not and cannot account for these things, it disqualifies itself as a sufficient worldview. If one's framework does not answer the fundamental human questions of right, wrong, meaning, and destiny, then it is not neutral. It is irrelevant. To say atheism doesn't have to is like a firefighter claiming they don't have to fight fires. It's a category failure. A worldview that refuses to address morality, purpose, and consciousness is not just incomplete. It is dangerously deceptive, posing as intellectual honesty while delivering spiritual nihilism. 2. Naturalism's hollow shell. The argument that naturalism can account for objective morality by redefining objective as something less than absolute is semantic gamesmanship, not philosophical rigor. Objective does not simply mean consistent or commonly agreed upon. It means independent of human opinion. It is a debate between moral realism and moral relativism. Naturalism inherently reduces all moral claims to human constructs or evolutionary byproducts. Thus, they are not objective but utilitarian or preferential. For something to be truly objective, it must transcend human minds. Otherwise, we are merely describing consensus, not truth. Consider this. If humans cease to exist tomorrow, would the Holocaust still be wrong? Under naturalism, the answer is no. It would simply be a non-event. But under theism, the answer is eternally yes, because morality is grounded in the immutable character of God. The atheist's fallback to objective doesn't mean absolute, is intellectual sleight of hand to avoid the crushing weight of moral accountability. Furthermore, comparing morality to concepts like seconds or blue is a category error. Time and color are descriptive measures or perceptions. Morality deals with prescriptive standards, what ought to be, not merely what is. Science describes, morality prescribes. Naturalism is utterly impotent to bridge this gap. 3. The cowardice of we don't know. The response, atheism doesn't have to account for consciousness or the universe, is an abdication of responsibility. Declaring we don't know is not intellectually courageous. It is a convenient retreat into agnosticism masquerading as rational defiance. It is not merely that atheism lacks an explanation, it cannot have one. Consciousness cannot emerge from unconscious matter without invoking metaphysical magic that naturalists themselves ridicule. The universe cannot spring from nothing without collapsing the very foundation of logic. Ex nihilo, nihil fit. Out of nothing, nothing comes. To say, we can reject unfalsifiable claims while simultaneously appealing to unexplained origins is hypocrisy. The claim that nature is all there is itself unfalsifiable. No one can observe beyond nature to verify this claim. Thus, naturalism is a self-defeating philosophy, smuggling in its own blind faith while scorning others for theirs. 4. Meaning and purpose. The atheist's great void. The atheists claim that atheism only subtracts God-given meaning, purpose, accountability, and hope is not a light concession. It is a fatal one. God-given meaning is the only ultimate meaning. Self-made purpose is like a Monopoly game where the rules vanish when the players get bored. If life's meaning is self-created, then it is self-destroyed. In atheism, purpose is as fragile as mood, as transient as a mayfly, and as arbitrary as personal taste. The atheist wants the comfort of meaning without the weight of accountability. But the two are inseparable. To deny God is to deny the ground of moral law, the source of hope beyond the grave, and the judge who makes justice in the universe meaningful. Without God, there is no final court of appeal. Evil, injustice, and suffering simply go unanswered. A universe without God is a universe where Hitler and Mother Teresa both return to dust, equally meaningless, equally extinguished. That is not liberation, it is horror. 5. The evidence of God, creation, and conscience. The assertion that there is no falsifiable evidence of any creation, just existence, reveals the atheist's selective blindness. The universe's very existence is evidence of creation. It is not nothing, it is something. And the scientific consensus that the universe had a beginning demands a cause outside of itself. The cause must be timeless, immaterial, and immensely powerful, precisely what Scripture has declared all along. Romans 1:20 is clear. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. The atheist's complaint that wrath from heaven is poorly revealed is not an indictment against God's clarity, but a confession of the atheist's moral rebellion. The issue is not evidence, it is willful suppression of the truth, Romans 1:18. 6. The historical weight of the resurrection. The final swipe that resurrection not so much is a tired trope. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is among the most attested events of antiquity. Skeptical scholars like Gerd Ludemann concede that the disciples had experiences they were fully convinced were appearances of the risen Christ. Licona, Habermas, and Craig are not clutching at straws. They are dealing with historical bedrock that demands explanation. The dismissive claim that some of Jesus' disciples believed they saw him utterly ignores the transformation of cowards into martyrs, the explosion of the early church, and the unique, enduring faith that outlasted the Roman Empire and shook the world. People do not die gruesome deaths for what they know is a lie. To wave this away as though the resurrection is in the same category as myth is to display either ignorance or intellectual dishonesty. Final word. The atheist's defense here is not a robust alternative worldview. It is a patchwork of evasions, redefinitions, and selective skepticism. They refuse to account for morality. They refuse to account for consciousness. They refuse to account for existence. They refuse to account for meaning. And in their refusal, they substitute self-invented illusions for truth. Atheism is not bold. It is hollow. Naturalism is not explanatory. It is reductionist. And those who cling to these ideologies do so not because the evidence compels them, but because their hearts rebel against the God to whom they are accountable. As Psalm 14:1 declares, "The fool hath said in his heart, there is no God." This is not a name-calling contest. This is an ancient diagnosis of the human condition. Atheism is not an intellectual problem. It is a heart problem. The gospel of Jesus Christ is not merely a debate to win. It is the truth that saves. He is risen. He is coming. And every knee will bow,